Okay, imagine this. You're at work, maybe just stepping into an elevator, right? And suddenly there's a confrontation.
Yeah.
Your instinct, it just kicks in. You want to defend yourself. But can you do that without putting your job, your whole livelihood on the line?
Hmm. It's a tough one. It feels like it should be a fundamental right.
Exactly. But in the professional world, things get incredibly complicated super fast.
They really do.
Welcome to the deep dive. We take complex topics, break them down, distill them into the essential knowledge you need to get well informed quickly.
And today, we're diving deep into, well, exactly that, the really nuanced world of workplace self-defense and unfair dismissal.
Yeah, and we're looking at it through the lens of a fascinating recent article from Australian Workplace Discrimination Representatives, or AWDR.
That's right. Our mission today, really, is to unpack two Fair Work Commission cases. The FWC, that's Australia's Independent National Workplace Relations Tribunal.
And these cases are interesting
Because they seem on the surface to kind of contradict each other.
yeah,
They really highlight just how tricky it is to figure out when self-defense, in a professional setting crosses that line into misconduct.
okay. And what factors really matter in that decision?
Precisely. Hopefully you'll walk away with a much clearer picture of this incredibly fine line.
All right, let's get into it. Case number 1, Peng Zhang v. CITIC Pacific Mining Management, Plea A Ltd. So the year is 2025.
Okay?
Picture the scene. It's Monday morning, maybe 15 minutes before his shift starts. Peng Zhang, he's a 55-year-old operator-maintainer technician. He's in an elevator.
Right. At his company's office in Perth.
Exactly. And he's on light duties. This is important because of a knee injury. And he's wearing his company lanyard.
Got it. So Zing gets in the elevator, positions himself kind of centrally. Then an unknown woman called Witness AB in the documents and a colleague of Mr. Chong, they get into.
Okay, so it's getting a bit crowded.
Yeah. And Witness AB feels like her path is blocked. So she asks Zing to move. A simple request, you'd think. But this is where it kicks off. It becomes the spark for two wildly different stories about what happened next.
And these conflicting accounts, they're absolutely crucial, aren't they?
Totally. So, Zing's version. He claimed Witness AB was hostile, that she physically assaulted him, his words, with her shoulder or elbow.
Assaulted, wow.
Yeah, causing him to lose balance on his injured knee, he said. So he reacted by reaching out with his left arm. He called it natural self-defense.
Okay. Reaching out how?
He claimed his hand just lightly brushed her shoulder. And then he swore at her, told her to leave him alone.
Lightly brush. That sounds quite minimal.
That was his claim. But Mr. Chong, the colleague who was also in the lift, he gave a very different account, starkly different, actually.
What did he see?
Chong observed Zing block the way. Yeah, he saw Witness AB having to sort of squeeze past him.
Okay.
And Chong felt that any contact she made was just, normal for exiting a crowded lift. It wasn't aggressive.
Right. Just incidental contact.
That was Chong's view. But then, and this is crucial, Chong witnessed Zhang push Witness AB hard in the back.
Hard in the back. Not a light brush then.
Not according to Chong. And he heard Zhang say, "Fuck off, don't touch me."
Whoa. Okay.
And Witness AB's own account, it largely backed up Chong's version, the forceful push, the aggressive language.
So the employer gets involved. What happens then?
Well, the incident gets reported. CITIC Pacific, the employer, they get hold of the CCTV footage from the elevator.
Ah, the video evidence.
Yeah.
Always key.
Always. And Zing's initial story to his employer, the one where he said he pushed her away in self-defense, that directly contradicted what he later testified at the FWC.
Ah, that's not good for his credibility.
Not at all. The company concluded he breached their code of conduct. The grounds were physically aggressive and threatening behavior, and they dismissed him.
Okay. So he's dismissed, but he fights it.
He does. Zhang lodges an unfair dismissal claim. He sticks to his guns, arguing self-defense.
Still claiming it was just a brush.
Yeah, just a brush. Purely preventative, no intent to harm. He also tried a few other arguments.
Like what?
Like arguing the incident happened outside of work hours and the workplace itself, so the code of conduct shouldn't apply. He also said the dismissal was way too harsh, disproportionate.
The out-of-hours argument can be tricky.
It can be. But then his defense took a surprising turn. He started alleging things like bias against men.
Really?
Yeah, and claimed Witness AB was motivated by revenge and/or spite. He even falsely claimed she didn't report it to the police, which she apparently had.
That sounds desperate.
It certainly complicated his position. He also threw in that the real reason he was fired was because he was a financial burden due to his knee injury.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot for the FWC to sift through. How did they balance his self-defense claim against everything else? Especially things like procedural fairness from the employer's side?
That's the key question. The FWC's review of the CCTV footage was pretty definitive. They looked at it and said Zhang's account was plainly at odds with what they saw.
So the video didn't back him up at all?
Not in the slightest. They concluded he deliberately pushed witness AB, and with some force, they noted, plus the aggressive swearing.
And what about witness AB's contact with him?
The FWC found her contact wasn't deliberate or unreasonable, just incidental, like Chung said.
Okay. And the out-of-hours argument? Did that fly?
No.
Yeah.
The FWC connected it firmly to his employment. Why? Well, the elevator's location, right near the workplace. The timing, just 15 minutes before his shift.
And the lanyard?
And the company lanyard, exactly. They said his actions damaged the company's brand.
So it sounds like even if the employer made some mistakes in how they dismissed him, his actual conduct was the main issue.
That's precisely it. The FWC did find serious procedural deficiencies. Like, Zhang wasn't properly notified of the reason for his dismissal before the decision was made.
That's usually a big deal. No chance to respond.
Exactly. He wasn't given a proper chance to respond before being sacked and being terminated over the phone. They called that harsh and unreasonable.
But still.
Those procedural flaws were ultimately outweighed by the valid reason for dismissal his conduct. And what really hurt him, too, was his complete lack of remorse.
He never showed any regret.
Apparently not. His claims about bias, being a financial burden, the FWC dismissed them all. Lack of evidence, factual inaccuracies.
So the outcome?
Zhang's unfair dismissal claim was rejected, thrown out.
A really tough outcome for Zhang. It clearly shows how carefully the FWC looks at these self-defense claims, doesn't it? Especially when the evidence, like video, contradicts the story.
Absolutely. It sets a high bar.
Okay, but now let's pivot. Let's look at a strikingly different scenario, a case where the verdict was basically the complete opposite. This offers really crucial insights, I think.
It really does. This is David Wool v. Central Queensland Services, Canadian Ltd.
Right. And this takes us to a totally different setting, a coal mining site in Queensland.
Yeah, it involves David Wool and two colleagues, and Mr. Torcello and a Mr. Hurley. They're all in a light vehicle together.
Okay, how does this one start?
This one apparently began with a comment from Wool to Torcello, described as passive-aggressive. Wool said something like, "I think my dozer is sick of cleaning up after your dozer."
Ooh, bit of workplace banter gone wrong.
Seems like it. Swearing followed. But then things escalated. Rapidly. Torcello leaned forward, grabbed Wool from behind.
Grabbed him while driving?
Well, they were in the vehicle. And then, shockingly, Torcello bit Wheel's left thumb.
Bit him,
Seriously. Caused facial injuries too, apparently.
Yeah.
Wheel testified later that he was genuinely scared. He felt he was under active assault.
I mean, yeah, being grabbed and bitten, that sounds absolutely terrifying. A clear physical threat. How did Wool react in that moment?
So the vehicle stopped. Will opened the door where Torcello was sitting. They tussled, is the word used.
Okay, a scuffle.
And Will punched Torcello twice. Then he managed to get control of Torcello's hands, and that effectively ended the brawl.
Right, so he used force to stop the attack.
Yes. But Central Queensland Services, his employer, they dismissed Will for serious misconduct.
Again, serious misconduct. What grounds?
Breaches of company policies, breaches of the Coal Mining Safety and Health Act, and a failure to take accountability. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
It does sound very similar to Zhang's situation initially. Another dismissal for alleged misconduct following an altercation. Yet you said the FWC's findings here were totally different.
Totally different. This is where it gets fascinating. Crucially, the FWC found no valid reason for Wool's dismissal.
No valid reason at all.
None. They determined Torcello was, unequivocally, the aggressor, and Wool. He acted in self-defense that was objectively reasonable and proportionate to the attack he faced.
Proportionate, that word again?
Keyword. The commission explicitly stated Will was entitled to act. He didn't just have to sit there and allow the attack to continue.
That's a huge finding, a massive difference from Zhang's case. What about the employer's investigation this time? Because that seemed to matter even when Zhang lost his case.
The investigation. Here it was deemed unfair, fundamentally flawed.
How so?
The investigator, Mr. Everingham, was found to have had an unshakable view, basically, from the get-go. He didn't keep an open mind during the whole inquiry.
Prejudged it.
Seems like it. The report mentions he was quite surprised when Wheel said he intended to report the assault to the police.
Surprised. Why?
Erringham apparently assumed Wheel was only doing it to try and keep his job, not because he was genuinely the victim of an assault seeking, justice.
Wow. That investigator's mindset is incredibly revealing, isn't it? It really shows how personal bias can just totally skew a formal process.
Absolutely. And this next part is maybe the most telling bit. The investigator actually stated his belief that it was not acceptable for a worker to act in self-defense.
Not acceptable, even if being bitten.
Even then, he said, quote, "There's always options, even if, and this is quite something, you might have to get punched, unfortunately."
You might have to get punched.
That was his stated view. And that perspective, it completely solidified the commission's view that Everingham had a closed mind. It totally undermined the fairness of the investigation.
Unbelievable. So, given that massive flaw in the investigation process itself, how did the FWC then weigh things like Wheel's work record, the impact of losing his job?
Well, they looked at his record unblemished, no prior disciplinary issues. They considered his age and the very significant impact losing his job would have.
Makes sense.
And based on all that, especially the lack of a valid reason and the unfair investigation, the FWC ruled his dismissal was harsh, unjust, and unreasonable.
So, what was the final order?
Reinstatement. They ordered the company to give him his job back. They found it was appropriate, given his good record, and the high regard his supervisors actually held him in.
Reinstatement.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay. We have these two cases. Both involve workplace fights. Both involve claims of self-defense. Yet the outcomes are polar opposites. Jean loses, Wheels wins, and gets his job back.
Exactly.
This really forces the question, doesn't it? What are the deep underlying principles here? What made the difference? Why such different verdicts?
Yeah, and looking at the contrast is where it gets really interesting. It helps us pull out some maybe universal lessons.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, proportionality and intent. In Zing's case, remember, the FWC found his reaction, the hard push, the swearing, was disproportionate. It was seen as intentional aggression, not legitimate self-defense.
And his story didn't match the video.
Crucially, yes. His story didn't align with the objective evidence, the CCTV. Plus, his complete lack of remorse really counted against him.
Whereas
Wheel's actions, the 2 punches to stop an ongoing assault where he was being bitten, were seen as proportionate. It was a direct response to an immediate, serious physical threat.
Okay, so reacting to an actual assault versus reacting aggressively after incidental contact.
That's a good way to put it. His response was considered reasonable in the face of that specific danger.
So it really sounds like proportionality and intent aren't just critical factors. They might be the single biggest thing determining these outcomes. Is it fair to say that without those, a self-defense claim pretty much always falls apart at the FWC?
I think that's a very powerful distillation, yes. The FWC's assessment isn't just who started it. It's a really rigorous look at proportionality. Not just the physical act, but the whole context of the response.
Context,
like the verbal aggression involved, like whether less forceful options were genuinely off the table. It clearly shows that defending yourself at work, it's held to a much higher standard than, say, on the street.
Right. It demands a more measured response.
A measured and proportionate response, if any response involving force is even warranted.
Okay. And beyond the actions themselves, this deep dive really hammers home how vital the investigation process is.
Absolutely paramount. A fair, open-minded, procedurally sound investigation. It can genuinely make or break an unfair dismissal claim.
We saw that clearly with Wool.
Exactly. The investigator's biased mindset in Wheel's case was critical. It basically neutralized the employer's argument about misconduct because the process itself was so flawed. It wasn't just what happened, but how the company investigated it. Was due process actually followed?
Such a key point for employers.
Huge. And we also saw, again, how the definition of workplace can stretch. It's not just your desk or the factory floor.
Right. Zhang in the elevator wearing the lanyard before his shift?
Exactly. Connected to employment. It's a good reminder that your employer's code of conduct often has a much broader reach than just when you're strictly on the clock.
And one final point that seemed important in both cases was remorse, or the lack of it.
Yes. Accountability. Zhang's complete lack of remorse, his shifting story, it hurt his case badly.
Well,
Will's consistent stance that he was a victim who responded reasonably was accepted by the commission. In essence, owning your actions, or at least presenting a credible, consistent story, it really matters to the FWC.
So bringing it all together then, what does this mean for you, the listener? Whether you're an employee maybe facing a tricky situation or an employer trying to manage conduct.
Well, these cases just powerfully underscore that incredibly complex line between self-preservation and misconduct, don't they?
They really do. It's clearly not always about who started it. It's about how you respond, how that response gets viewed through that critical lens of proportionality.
And, crucially, how the whole incident is investigated by the employer. Due process matters. Fairness matters.
Which leaves us with a final thought, maybe a provocative one. In a world where, let's face it, immediate physical threats can arise unexpectedly, even at work, what truly are an individual's options when they're faced with aggression in a professional environment? Especially thinking about that investigator who said you might have to get punched.
Yeah, that's a chilling thought.
And how can workplaces get better? How can they better equip both employees and management to handle these volatile situations fairly effectively, making sure due process isn't just a box to tick, but something deeply ingrained?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we balance safety, rights, and professional standards when things turn physical? A really complex challenge.